it was interesting to hear the Bible study about Jesus standing up in the temple at 12 years of age, asking and answering questions with the leaders of the Jewish church at that time in the temple. And it brings back something that happened to me, and I want to say that never discount your youth. Never. The youth of the church is the future of the church. I was on a visit in Burma, evangelizing visit, and for any that were ready, a baptizing visit. And there was a mother and son among some others. There was a mother and son that came forward and wanted to be baptized and asked me if they could be baptized. And of course, I don't just dunk people, at least knowingly dunk them, but sit down and talk with them and discuss a number of things, and had to do it through a translator because I don't speak Burmese language. I speak Thai language, but not Burmese language. So through an interpreter, I was able to learn more about each of them, and I made the decision that the mother was ready for baptism, but her son was 12 years old. So at first, I thought, well, this isn't going to work. He's only 12 years old. But the more I talked to that young man, the more I realized he talks like an adult. His understanding, his mind, his way of asking certain questions, answering certain questions, demonstrated to me an understanding far beyond his years. And I thought about it, and I thought, don't the Jewish people bar mitzvah their boys at 12 years old? They become a part of the adult community in the synagogue? Yes, they do. Jesus, at 12 years old, became a part of was able to contend and talk and ask and answer with adults as part of the Jewish church of the day. I thought about it, I prayed about it, I thought about it some more, I prayed about it some more. And I thought, I know he's only 12, but his understanding is that of an adult individual. He understood what he was getting involved in. He understood what commitment to Jesus Christ was about. He understood what a baptism meant. So I baptized him at 12 years old. I don't make a regular practice out of that, but in this particular case, I thought it was apparent, clear to me that he could be baptized at 12 years old. Today, that same young man who's a graduate of our school just gave the Sabbath sermon. I'm emotional, I'm sorry. He's giving Sabbath sermons at our school. And I put him in charge of the school until the new teachers showed up when I left to come to the U.S. He's an outstanding young man and doing a very fine job. He's older now, more mature now. His understanding is more mature, but he does know his Bible, and he's a very, very good preacher and a good speaker and a good leader. These things happen. We can't discount our youth, especially if they were at 3 months or 4 months or 6 months or whatever they may be, or laying on some blanket somewhere, drinking a bottle while the church is going on. They get these things. They really do. So whatever way it's possible for your particular congregation to expend energy and time and even gold on your young people to prepare them for future service in the church, you should do so as much as you possibly can. You will not regret it. Okay, we're talking about front lines of God's work over in, not the front lines, but a front lines, thank you, of God's work over in Burma and Thailand. Like you said, it's a long way away. We're talking about an alien culture now. This is not American at all. I tell the new teachers that come to serve as volunteer teachers at our school, throw your Western prism away. The prism in which you view the world, get rid of it. You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. You have to learn to adjust, and Mr. Fish can tell you, I'm sure, many stories about learning to adjust to the Thailand culture whenever we had the feast over there. And so we learn to, as Paul said, become all things to all men. We learn to operate within the framework of that society without giving up our own principles, especially God's way of life, which we are to teach, but in the framework of where we are there. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some slides here of our most recent visit to Burma. Gloria and I go there at the Spring Feast, Passover and Days of Unleavened Bread, because we are in Chiang Mai during the Feast of Tabernacles, because we have a feast site we hold there in Chiang Mai, Thailand, in the north of Thailand. So we take the opportunity to go to Burma, collect the people at a central location. In this case, it's a church congregation with a building that we're able to meet in, and we have Passover, unleavened bread. I give a sermon every day during that time, and lots of feasting. Oh, they love the feasting part. So we give spiritual food, and then we give the physical food as well. Most of the people there don't have much money, don't earn much money at all. What's the standard wage? What is it, $3 a day maybe? If you use our money. Maybe $2 a day. Some of them are subsistence farmers. They live on what they can grow. So they don't have money, but we take, because of the generosity of people like you in America, we're able to take funds with us to provide them with extra meat. They eat more meat at the feast of unleavened bread than maybe they've ever seen in their lives, and special treats and more vegetables to eat and things like that. So they do, especially the kids. They love the feasting. They really do. Now, the reason I have on the screen Foundation for Future Growth is that we're at the beginning. We're the grain of a mustard seed place in Burma as far as our particular organization is concerned. And we have two small congregations, one in the the central area near the Thailand border, and one in Rangoon. In Matthew 28, Mark 16, this is very, very important, because this is, I know that the motto for the United Church of God is preach the gospel, prepare a people. Well, the best way to prepare a people is to preach the gospel. That those people are involved in preaching the gospel. Going out into all the world, you preach the gospel. That's the evangelism part. Then there's the nurturing part. the development of the people, the education of the people of God. That is where you teach the commandments of God to them. You bring them to Jesus, the Lord, King. He calls them, brings them, actually he brings them to you. You don't go and get anybody. Somehow they find you because of God's work, God's involvement in the preaching of the gospel. Then there's the nurturing of the church, the pasturing of the church, which is teaching the commandments, teaching how to live, teaching how a Christian should be toward one another and toward others who are outside of the congregational community. And we have that issue in Burma because the rest of the people are Buddhists. How long? What did Jesus say? Until the end of the age. I will be with you always. When? Until the end of the age. That means we are to be doing this, going out, preaching the gospel, raising up churches, teaching the commandments of God to the people that God brings into the church. And how long are we to do it? We're going to do it until the end of the world, until Jesus comes back. That's how long it is. I've had people tell me that, the work's over. I said, oh, really? It's not over. It's not over until it's over. It's not over yet. There's way too much to do. There's far too many people out there that need the Word of God, that need the Spirit of God in their lives. Jesus said, don't tell me the harvest is tomorrow. Look on the fields. They're already ripe for the harvest. Okay, here's a map of Burma. They call it Myanmar today. The people don't like what the British have done to the name of their country. Somehow the British were able to take Myanmar, which is the name that they call it, and switch it into Burma. How the British can do that, I have no idea, but they do it. They do it often in many different areas of the world. So the Burmese decided, well, we want to have our national name, and so they've now changed the name of the country from Burma to Myanmar. They've changed the flag and so on. And you can see here in this map, it may not be the best map, but I'll use my pointer, point out a couple things here for you. This is Rangoon, or Yangon, they call it. They changed that name too. There, the star. That's Yangon. Then there's a railroad that runs up through here, all the way up to Mandalay here. Mandalay, I'm sure you've heard that name. Okay, Taungu is here. Thailand is here. Taungu is here, and that's where there's actually a very nice road that they've built that goes from Yangon all the way up to Taungu. And it's a very nice road. In fact, they built a new capital nearby Taungu called Naypyidaw, and it's all underground. Well, you're thinking, well, why would they build their capital underground? And the answer is they're afraid the Americans are going to bomb them. I'm serious. Remember, it was George Bush said they were part of the axis of evil. Well, they take those things seriously in Burma. Anyway, continue. You can see Bangladesh, India. Well, this is not all of India. This is just part. It stretches over beyond this part in India. And like I said, Burma is a very Buddhist country. very superstitious. There are many, many monks and nuns. You see them going along and collecting money or food or whatever. There could be a whole row of perhaps 40 or 50 monks or 40 or 50 nuns going along and collecting along the road. This is one of their pagodas. They have pagodas all over the country. It's a very superstitious country. Now this one, some of you may even recognize it. This is what I call one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. This is Shui Dagon, the great pagoda in Rangoon. There are tons of gold on this pagoda. Most of it was collected during the sack of the Siamese capital of Ayutthaya, where they took all of the golden Buddha images, melted them down, hauled them off, and put them on this pagoda. They have sheets of gold like this, that thick, on the side of this pagoda. And what's really interesting are the poor people, by the hundreds of thousands that come to this pagoda, the poorest of the poor. And they bring their little pittance, like the widow's mite of the Bible. And they're donating what little they have so they can put more gold on this pagoda. We can't even get our own people to tithe properly. And these people are giving the little widow's mite that they may have to add more gold to this dumb pagoda. It's astonishing to me. So we're going to look at the Church of God. There are a number of different Church of God organizations that have operated in Burma, currently in Burma or previously in Burma. One's the Church of God Seventh Day. They have a number of congregations in Burma. Worldwide Church of God, they had actually some of you may recognize the name Saleh Bey. How many of you have heard the name Saleh Bey? Yeah, a lot. Saleh Bey was the Worldwide Church of God pastor in Burma. He was a Karen man. I never met him, but I have met relatives, a lot of relatives of his, sons and daughters. In fact, Saleh Bey, we have 2 of his grandchildren that are students at our school in Chiang Mai right now. 2 cousins that are grandchildren of Saleh Bey. Apostolic Church of God, that's another group that has done work in Burma that are Church of God related. There are other many Christian organizations that have done a lot of work in Burma. Living Church of God has 2 congregations in Burma, and Church of God in Asia, which is what the little congregations call themselves to differentiate from the ones that I oversee, to differentiate it from like the Church of God, the Pentecostal groups that are also called Church of God. And so we're not alone in the work. There are others doing evangelistic work as well in Burma. Also, a very strong Seventh-day Adventist work in Burma. They're very good at building schools. They have some really, really nice schools there in Burma. In fact, when we are able to have someone come to Legacy, our Legacy School in Chiang Mai, who had the advantage of an SDA education, their English is always better. They know some English. because of their education in the SDA school, plus some Bible, some basic Bible knowledge when they come. We have two now that we are, two or three, Gloria, that we are supporting for their education at SDA school. We've got two young ladies that we are supporting for them to finish up their SDA education, and then the idea is then to bring them to Thailand for their legacy education afterwards. Okay, now you take a very nice paved road up to Tangu, and then you take a not so nice paved road directly east into the mountains, on the Thailand border. And then you park, in this case, the deacon in Rangoon is a very successful businessman. He has a very nice, is that a Honda? Honda, kind of a van type thing. And then we park that and we start walking, because we must walk into the jungle up on the mountainside to the village where the church is located, the actual church building and the main congregation in Burma. And you'll see these ladies are using umbrellas, not because it's going to rain, but in Asia they use umbrellas to protect themselves from the sun. This is the bridge we cross, and by the way, motorcycles also cross that bridge. The ox carts just cross down at the river crossing, river ford. And they walk everywhere. They take walking in stride. In stride, that's not a pun. Hey, that's a pretty good pun. I'll have to use that next time. But anyway, they walk everywhere. Or if they can get a bicycle, they love to ride a bicycle, if the tires aren't flat. More through the jungle. Okay, you get to the church building, and this is what you find. It's always the same. These characters are there to greet you upon arrival. But as I said before, it's the young people that are the future of the church. This is the future. You're looking at the future right here of the church in Burma. Okay, this shows the inside of the church building. Let me tell you about this building. I mentioned the deacon, Muzal. He's very, like I said, a successful businessman. He owns a number of businesses in Rangoon. And he comes from let's say a high family. We'll use that language, high family in Burma, because his relatives are either generals or high-ranking monks. So he's well known, and he knows a lot of people. And a wealthy Buddhist lady came to him one time, and she said, I really want to help somebody. I've got all this money. I want to make merit. So I'd like to give some money for helping people. What do you think I should do? The light goes off in Muzah's head, because what we wanted to do was build a church building in this village. They didn't have one. So he said, well, told the lady, we would like to build a church building so that these people can have some place to meet. And she said, I'll do that. I'll donate for that. So even though she was a Buddhist and this was a Christian church building, didn't matter to her, because what she wanted to do was make merit and do good and help people. Okay? So she was able to donate the beginning of this church building. It's very well built. And then Legacy was able to add to that later when we needed to add some windows and things like that. So this is where people meet at a place called Chok Dang, which I'll tell you more about later. This is the name of the village is Chok Dang. So this is the Chok Dang Church of God. And you can see the attack dog guarding the door. All right, this is the future of the church. They're all singing hymns. More and more kids, so many kids. I mean, you can't hardly move. There's so many children. It's just more and more children are coming. Again, that's the future of the church. We're happy about the kids. We want more kids growing up in God's way of life. They love to have their pictures taken. Now, I have to give credit to Lacey Hilgen. Most of these pictures were taken by her. She went along with us. She was there for Passover and unleavened bread with us this year. You'll see a picture of her later. Now, you see the white paste they have on their face? Okay. In Burma and in Thailand, parts of Thailand, in the tribal areas, what they do is they take, this is bark. It's a kind of bark that they grind and mix together with a little bit of water to make a paste. And they put that on their faces to protect young children, ladies, and even sometimes young boys from the sun. It gets really hot there. It's also a kind of cosmetic that keeps the skin soft. It's very popular with young ladies. They even make funny designs, some of them. Once again, singing hymns. You'll notice the girl here. This would be a native Karen dress, costume, right here. That's a typical native costume of the Karen tribal people in Thailand and Burma. And this is a Karen village. No, that's not a skirt. Hey, it's like a kilt, only a little bit longer. It's plaid. Okay, this is what's called a longi. Longi is this is what men wear in Burma. They wear a longi, which is a kind of wraparound long kilt. I'm not going to give you the skirt, okay? Or I'll never be able to live it down. Anyway, especially with Reen Gruder back there somewhere. I went to school at Ambassador College with Reen Gruder. I got to tell you this. First time I was in a class, and we were getting started as a freshman there, and went into some Bible class, and there was this, the instructor gets up and starts reading off the roll. And he comes to Reen's name, and he says, Renee Gruder. And I hear this voice from over here somewhere saying, Reen, it's Reen. I said, hey, I like that guy. Anyway, this gentleman here is the oldest member of the congregation there. He lost a foot getting blown off by a landmine he stepped on. But so he has a wooden foot. Part of his foreleg and ankle and foot is wooden. But he gets around really well. In fact, at a wedding we had a number of years ago, he said he was going to dance and sing. And I thought, what's this going to be like? And then, wonderful, fantastic voice, and he could really dance. Even with his wooden foot, he was able to dance really well. Okay, I want to point these people out. This is song services here. This is Musa, the deacon in Rangoon. This is his wife, Tuma. They're very, very special people. Baptized them both. Can't remember when now. Gloria probably knows the year. I can't remember those things. But he has been very faithful. Both he and his wife, very faithful servants. Like I mentioned before, he's a very successful businessman. He always has people staying at his home. Very hospitable in Rangoon. In fact, one of the young ladies that we are sponsoring to go to this SDA school lives with them in their home and goes to the SDA school in Rangoon. And at the feast, it is Tumar, the wife, who does all the shopping for the food and kind of oversees the kitchen and the preparation of the food. And she's quite good at bargaining, getting a good price. Okay, this is a little baby I'm holding. This is Nana. And Nana is the second son of the couple here. This is our student pastor, he's called. He's not ordained, but I call him a student pastor. This is Sengong and his wife, Sengpan. They're Kachin tribe, they're members of the Kachin tribe, and that's their little boy, Nana. That would be their second son. The first son is named Blessing. His name is Blessing. So I'm doing a blessing of the children's ceremony there. And it was wonderful. He didn't pee on me. You would not believe how many times that's happened. They get scared. Anyway, now this is one of the things that Sengpan was with the braided hair there. The wife of the student pastor. She teaches the children. Right? That's one of her main duties, is to teach the young people Bible, English, singing, music, so on. And what they like to do is perform a pantomime of some biblical theme, sing a song, and pantomime the biblical theme that they're singing about, which is really a good technique because it creates patterns, a physical pattern, which then causes the brain to remember more readily, more easily for young children. So this is special music. There's a lot more singing and music there. I have to really commend the chorale and the chorale leader. That was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful number that they performed. You really have wonderful blessings here. You really do. This would be a group shot, as many as we could get together. Some of you has anyone here ever herded chickens? If you can herd chickens, you can get people together, church people together in Burma. This is most of them. We had to run out and round them up. But this is most of the people that were there for Passover and unleavened bread. And as you can see, there's lots of little kids there. There's Lacey. She's the big, tall one right over there. Tall, blonde, white woman. She sticks out. Great teacher. Really miss her. This is the kitchen where all the meals were prepared. Now you notice who's doing all the work and who is supervising. Ladies, does that happen here? Okay, this is Aja. Aja is coming back to Legacy as an employee. She is our best translator from the English language to the Burma language and vice versa. So she'll be coming back to work for another 3 or 4 years for us in Thailand. She can also cook. And then as you see there, there's Tumar is overseeing what's happening here. And that's Seong over here. Like I mentioned before, the feasting, they love the feasting. The kids just love it. They're always first at the table. And like I said, they got plenty, so much to eat, and a lot of meat, which we were able to purchase for them. And they really enjoy the feasting and the singing. All right, now this is a special thing because water is becoming more scarce. You in California know what I'm talking about. Okay, water is becoming more and more critical worldwide, not just here. And so one of the things that was needed at the church compound, which had been donated by a church lady now deceased, was a well. And there were a number of false starts for this well. And we even tried to drill a well. And they could only get down so far, and they kept hitting bedrock. But this particular well, they dug by hand, and they got it down to 52 feet, and the water in the bottom is very sweet and very clean. And it takes a day to fill back up again, but that's all right, because they can pump it out, fill up a tank that they've built there, and then they can use that water, and then as they're using that water, the well is filling back up again in the bottom. So again, this is all done by hand, and you can see the foothold. You can see the footholes cut into the side of the well here. Where is that? Right there, I think. Yeah, right there. And we've got a pipe coming out. We got them a pump. And now water's flowing out of this well, doing really well. That's not a pun either. These are some of the guys that had been digging. They still have to put the cement rings into the well to prevent the sides from crumbling into the well. So that's the project they're working on now. Notice the legacy shirt. It's a legacy football shirt. I believe, is that Sangong, Gloria? Yeah. That's Sangong down in the well. He's working on the pump. Let's see the electric line going down there. That's for the pump. All right, here's the water coming out. Kids are happy. They don't have to carry it from the river anymore. So they're happy. These kids are so cute. They're really cute. They're also a bit goofy. They like to do things for the camera, make faces or something. See the white on the face? Satan never sleeps. That's one of the biggest problems we've had with church building in Burma, is the attacks by Satan. He never lets go. He never relents. He never stops. He never gives up. He might have a little reprieve for a little while, and then here he comes again with some other attack from a different side. It's been a lot of work. God has been with us, though, and we've been able to fend off the attacks. I'll get to that in a second. Two ordained Church of God ministers tried to destroy this small church congregation. One, I had to disfellowship because of gross sins. Another one for apostasy. There's a third one that was not ordained. He was a lay pastor that had inherited this Chok Dang church from his father, who was the Baptist pastor who brought the entire congregation into the Church of God. And they began keeping the Sabbath and holy days and so on and so forth. I also baptized the young man who became, these are tribal groups. A pastor among the tribal groups is like a shaman or a medicine man or something, and it's hereditary. And so when the old pastor that I had baptized, whenever he died, it went automatically to his son. Well, his son turned to false doctrine, apostasy, tried to take the members with him. So what I did is I decided what I needed to do is pull an Elijah on him. So I gathered all the people in the congregation, as many as I think there were one or two that were not there. And so I had them choose. You want to follow him? Or do you want to follow the truth that you've been taught by me? What do you want to do? And the unanimous decision was follow the truth. So they rejected this young man and lay pastor and his wife, who was Jezebel, and followed the truth. And so that ended that attack. And the young man had to leave the compound, leave the church compound, had to remove his house, which was on the church compound, and go elsewhere. He also tried to steal the land. But that got stopped as well because Musa the deacon went there and talked with the local officials, explained the land ownership that was donated by this elderly lady now deceased and so on, and they agreed that the church was the true owner of this land and that the young man had no rights at all to the property. 1 Peter 5 tells us we have to be sober, we have to be vigilant. The adversary is a roaring lion who does go about seeking to devour. And he's always looking for the weak, he's looking for the unprotected, he's looking for the isolated, just like all predators. We have to resist steadfast in the faith. The same affliction are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. And that's what the point I'm making here is that if you feel you've had an attack inside the church, because if he can't do it from outside, he'll do it from inside. You're not alone. You got people over in Burma with exactly the same attack that they have to deal with. Satan roams the earth looking for any that he's able to devour. He's not prejudiced at all. He'll attack anybody. Any Church of God people anywhere in the world. They're game to him. For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things, drawing away disciples after themselves. And that's always the purpose. It always is the purpose to draw disciples away, to follow them. This is their goal. Anytime you hear anything that starts getting your little spiritual red lights go off, you better listen. You better listen. Because if it's not according to God's way in the scriptures, be careful. If there are false accusations that are made, be careful. The best way to gain disciples after yourself is to discredit the other leader. If someone comes to me and says, oh, this particular church leader, blah, 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 does something, blah, 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 I immediately the little red lights go off. Why is this person telling me this? What's the motivation? Is it sincere? Or is there an agenda? This is our baptismal. It's also used to water the cows. Here's Lacey. Some of you know her. She was one of our teachers and decided to come with us to Burma before she returned to the U.S. She's down in Mario's congregation, Mario Segli. Now you see the young man, that's Sengong here. She's getting ready to take pictures. That's Sengong. I said, Sengong, go in there and find a good place to baptize somebody. So he waited on in and found a really good place, not too far from the shore. Worked out really good. These are the members waiting for the baptism. Not all of them, but just several members waiting for the baptism. It's always a big event when someone is baptized. Everybody wants to come and see it. Everybody wants to come and participate. Everyone wants to come and witness it. It's a big church event, baptism. Okay, this is Gloria, and she's got my bag of tricks because I'm going to have to go in the water, so that's my Bible bag and all of that. She's holding my cowboy hat that I have to wear over there, otherwise not much on top anymore. And I fry my brain. And this is one of our students. This is Neblu Tu, the young lady, and she's holding the son of the young lady that we're going to baptize. Okay, these are young men. Both are graduates of our school, and I'm teaching them how to baptize and the formula you use and the questions you ask, the answers that you need to hear, and so on. They're also there to stabilize me so I don't fall in the water. You notice the Sengong is there holding my stick, my staff, and helping the lady get under the water. And the other young man is Mobile. Mobile is also a graduate from our school. All right, we're getting ready for laying on of hands. So we're asking God to give her the Holy Spirit. How wonderful that is. That's a wonderful picture. Because she's receiving the Holy Spirit of God, and it's going to lead her life forever. Now, this is our school. We call it the Legacy Leadership Training Center in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Purpose is train young men and women for leadership in the church and in their tribal communities. If they're not called to serve in leadership positions in the church, they may have opportunity to be leaders in their community, their tribal communities on the border of Thailand, in the mountains, or in Burma. And we teach life skills, not just how to earn a living, but how to live. That's really important. And the things we teach reflect that. And the students come from Burma and the border areas, mountain areas of Thailand. Now we have volunteer teachers that come and teach for about 9 months, 10 months, an academic year. We can't have a school without these teachers. And all of them are native English-speaking volunteers. and selected from various Sabbath-keeping fellowships. And that's one thing that's required. They need to come from a Sabbath-keeping background. They don't necessarily need to be baptized, but they do need to come from a Sabbath-keeping background. Because why? The students we have there learn more from their examples than any other way. You know that, Bill. It's all about example that people see, the young people see. They learn more about God's way of life from the examples they see than anything else. So we need young people that come from a Sabbath-keeping background so they can set the right example. We get them from USA, Australia, Canada, England. Serve for one academic year at their own expense, or sometimes a congregation will sponsor them, or in some cases, I think we have one young man, Ian Stewart, this year that Life Nets, I think it is, or is it, what's the one UCG does? Not Life Nets. Good Works, right. Good Works is sponsoring Ian to come over and teach. Ian Stewart from Texas. These are the classes, most of them: Introduction to the Bible, Old Testament history, Life and Teachings of Jesus, Principles of Leadership, Middle East Western Civ, Principles of Preaching, English speaking, reading, composition, journalism. Now this is I'm going to leave this on there's a couple of these, which I'm going to leave on there's a table somewhere. It'll be on the table. Okay. This one is, this is called Our Legacy Leader. This is a newspaper we publish once a year. It's the product of our journalism class. And they do all of the layout. They do all the photography, they write all the articles that appear, and so on. And this probably, more than any other single physical example, shows the efficacy of our program at the school. Because this is not their native language, this is English. They have to learn it, and then they have to produce things like this and write in English. And we try to edit as little as possible so that their product is what is shown in here. Even if there's a few mistakes in it, it doesn't matter. So this will be there. We also put out I'll do this now. We also put out I write a monthly newsletter about what's going on over there. If you want to receive it, just put your name and your email. We'll send it to you by email. Or if you want a physical address, put that down too. We're going to put that on the table as well, if you want to receive the monthly updates. What we're doing over there. Volunteer life, those who volunteer to teach. By the way, everyone, I'm not talking about the volunteers, I'm talking about people who are parents of the volunteers or know the volunteers in the different church areas we visit. They all say, going and teaching at Legacy really changed them. Okay, really changed them. It is life-changing to teach others less fortunate. It's life-changing to go and be right there on the front lines teaching God's way of life through example and through classes. It's quite something in a way that affects these young people over in Burma, Thailand for the rest of their lives. Yes, it is life-changing, eye-opening, mind-expanding to participate in things like that. So yes, young people coming back do change. Forever they change. So they stay on campus, housing or off campus, depending on situation. They set the Christian example. Students learn more from the teachers watching them. They watch you all the time. How do you act? What do you say? How do you dress? You know, the things that you do, the things that you like and dislike. This is how they learn. And they're more interested in that than anything else, watching the teachers. And they get a chance to talk with the teachers, learn more about them. The teachers learn more about the young students at our school. At the feast, they get to interface with Westerners that come and visit and get to know them. They get to know the Westerners. And again, it becomes a big opportunity for growth on both sides. Our students don't just grow. Our volunteers probably grow more than the students they teach. And Sabbath service attendance is required. The example has to stretch to obedience to God's laws. And setting an example off campus as well as on campus. Everybody, there are no secrets in Asia. None. Everybody knows everything about you and everybody else. And believe me, what the Westerners are doing at Legacy School, what those Farang they call us, Farang is Thai for Westerner. What the Farang are doing at the Legacy School is better than any Thai soap opera on TV. Okay, every 3 months, our volunteers need to leave the country and get their visas stamped. This is Thai law. Don't ask me why, but that's the way it is. And they got to leave the country and come back in. And that could be just 10 minutes across a border and then coming back in, stamping the visa for another 3 months. So every 3 months, there's opportunity for travel to the surrounding countries, Laos, Cambodia, Burma, Malaysia, Vietnam, China, different countries, Singapore. So it's also an educational opportunity to travel in that part of the world. So we give a liberal arts education, and that's the pattern that Ambassador College had years ago. And not just the Bible classes, but other classes as well, to make a well-rounded, educated person who graduates. So we also have a strict code of moral and ethical conduct. We have zero tolerance for infractions like sexual misconduct and theft, cheating, drunkenness, and so on. This was the feast several years ago, or last year, I'm not sure. I wanted to put this in there because it shows these are Karen people, Karen tribal people. It's one of the main tribes that live in the border areas of Thailand and Burma. And these are their national dress. Very colorful. And you see some of our volunteer teachers are in there. Kathleen Kelly. That's Lacey Hilgen. Who am I missing, Gloria? I guess that's it, just two. They decided to get dressed up too. Girls always like to play dress up. My granddaughters are crazy about dress up. One of our legacy students, we do elephant riding every year at the feast. So she gets a chance to play with this big elephant. Actually, this is one of the little ones. Okay, these are the two young people. This is Lacey with the two young people that are Solly Bay's grandchildren that are now students at our legacy school. This is Larry Moo and Timu Bell. Is that correct, Gloria? Timu Bell? Yeah. Okay. Okay, Okay, graduates from our school, they either go on for further education, employment, leadership service in the church or in their community. The goal is for our graduates to return to their own people and serve to better their quality of life and set the proper Christian example. We want them to go back into their own communities. We want to go back to their own countries. I tell people I'm not the underground railroad for people from Burma to get to America. That's not our goal. Our goal is for them to be trained and go back and help their own people. Once they come to America, forget it. They never go back. They talk about going back, but they don't. Would you go back to Burma if you could stay in America and live here? No, you wouldn't go back. Once they come here and they start having a family and they get involved in trying to be a breadwinner for their family and start working, get involved in paying for cars and gas and insurance and housing and blah, 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 all that stuff, they're locked in. One of my good friends, who was a Karen man, he was a refugee, eventually came to America. The guy's working 3 jobs to make ends meet. And we don't have any prejudice. Buddhists are accepted as well as traditional Christians at our school. If they come as a Buddhist, graduate as a Buddhist, that's fine. God calls people, not me. God chooses people, not me. So it's up to Him whether that person's heart and mind is changed by His Spirit or not. We teach it's God who chooses. I call it the ambassador model, based on the ambassador college model, but with many differences because of Asian culture. Thailand laws, logistical differences. It's a different world, and so we have to adjust. We can't transplant our American way of doing things over there. It doesn't work. You have to make adjustments. Sometimes that's difficult for me because the culture sometimes can make me crazy. Now, Thailand was never colonized by Western power. Some people do not know that. During the days when it was called Siam, they had the British in Burma and Malaysia, and they had the French in French Indochina, that would be Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, on the other side. And through masterful diplomacy by the Chakri family, and the current king is a Chakri, and they're masters at diplomacy. They were able to keep both the empires at bay, both the British Empire on the west and the French Empire on the east. They were able to keep them at bay and became a sort of a buffer and maintained their independence. So Thailand has a unique culture and way of life there. They have influence, Western influence, of course, but that's not the same as having been colonized and dominated by Western power. It's a very Gentile land, I call it, really. So we build on a rock with trained young men and women, grounded in the Word of God, skilled in preaching, teaching. We can provide a sure foundation for church building. I'm not talking about the physical building, I'm talking about the congregational building, the ecclesia building in Burma, both in Burma and in Thailand. I have to say that so far, it's been Burma, not Thailand, as far as the lead of the Holy Spirit, where we are able to work. Now, Thailand's a wonderful place. Quite frankly, it has a lot more freedom than what's going on in this country. I see things that make my hair, what little hair I've got left, stand on end about what's taking place in my country of the United States. I don't like what I see. There's a lot of freedom in Thailand. And that freedom, especially the freedom of religion, where you are permitted to worship the way that you see fit, according to your conscience, your religion, and that right is guaranteed by the king himself. Now, a few years ago, the government wanted to make Buddhism the national religion. That was a political move. King and Queen said no. We are open to all religions. And it failed. And again, we are able to have our school there and operate in freedom. So eventually we want to develop a school in Burma based on the Legacy Thailand model. That's a dream that we have. It would make a whole lot of difference in terms of visas and expense and regulations and laws in Burma. It gets crazy to bring people over to Thailand, which is what we have to do now. That is a dream. God willing, we will start out doing some groundwork here soon. Got to find out some costs and things like that. But again, it's in the very infant stages at this point, because we need to train administrators, train teachers to go to Burma, graduates from our school in Thailand, to go teach there. And we also need physical plant, school buildings, dormitories, and so on. Talked about the well already. It's almost completed. That is a must. You've got to have water. Talked about the failures we've had. Oh yeah. I find out later that the name of the village, Chokdang, means Rock Mountain City. Thank you for telling me in advance before we try to drill these wells and dig these wells. I think the well we have right now is a miracle, because the whole place is on a rock, a giant granite rock mountain. So it's incredible. So here's the obstacles to overcome. Myanmar rules, regulations, they come up with new ones almost every day. We need teachers and administrators, and we need donations to build the school buildings. And we also have to continue to be vigilant against attacks from Satan, the devil, who wants to stop anything that would change hearts and minds to become God-like, God-adoring, and part of God through the power and birth of the Holy Spirit. Satan wants to stop. He doesn't want more children of God coming into existence. He'll try and stop it any way that he can. Matthew 9:36, when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them because they fainted and were scattered abroad like sheep having no shepherd. So he said unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray, therefore, the Lord of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. And that's where we're at right now. More laborers need to go into the harvest, whether that is in Thailand or Burma or anywhere else in the world for that matter. More laborers are needed for the harvest fields. What did Jesus just say? The harvest truly is plenteous. He knows how many are out there, but he has to call them to something. And we have to provide that something to be called to. That means we have to go out in different parts of the world and do as he said, preach the gospel, and teach the people to observe all things that he's commanded. So pray, please, for the harvesters to enter into the harvest. That's it. I appreciate the opportunity to come here and to see old friends. Everybody looks a little different, though. Frank Fish came up to me, and he gets right here, okay? And he says, I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and he says, Frank. And I said, Frank? And I have to move him back a little bit and do this. Oh, yeah, it was Frank. Sorry, Frank. My eyes are bad. My eyes are bad, my ears are bad, other things are bad. But God is merciful, God is great, God is wonderful. That song the chorale did proves that. He's wonderful. And God keeps us going, keeps us strengthened by the power of His Holy Spirit. My physical disabilities don't seem to slow me down. No, it does slow me down, but it doesn't stop me. It does not stop me. And Gloria, too. Gloria is a big strength to me. She does, I can't drive anymore. I lost peripheral vision in some strokes I had about 6 years ago. So I don't see, you see that? I don't see my hand. If somebody comes in from this side on the road, I'm toast, because I won't see them. So she does a lot of driving and helps me when we travel in different places. Like she's helping me now traveling here to the United States. Again, we appreciate all that you do and all the help that you give, and especially the prayers that you send up to heaven. And we do appreciate the opportunity to see all of you once again.